I think it's time that we start our session. So, hello, everyone. A big warm welcome to all our curious young explorers joining us today for a very special masterclass on artificial intelligence. This is titled Brains, Bots, and Beyond. And today we are setting off on an exciting journey to uncover superpowers and secrets of AI. AI is artificial intelligence. And data centers that power AI used up nearly 2% of world's electricity. Data centers that power AI used up nearly 2% of world's electricity. That's a lot of energy. And by the coming year, that is in 2026, AI might be using as much electricity as the entire developed country of Japan. And here's another surprise. About 40% of these data centers, which are supporting these AIs, are built in places with extreme water stress. That means that while we are asking AI questions, some parts of the world may be running out of water. So it's not just about what AI can do, it's also about using it wisely and sustainably. That's what we are here to learn today. How to become tech smart heroes who shape a greener but safer tomorrow. Right? So now, before we jump in, a few quick house rules for all of you. First, all of you will be on mute throughout the session, just to keep the audio clean and free of background noise, no other issue. But don't worry, we really want to hear from you. The chat strip will stay open, so feel free to type in your thoughts, reactions, even emojis, anything that you would like. And if you have any questions, just send them to me directly via our chat, and our team will do their best to answer you during the session. And if you have a question for our speaker, we will give you a chance to ask it live during our question and answer session at the end. So we'll unmute you at that time and you can ask the speaker the question directly. All right. Um, okay. And now the moment we've all been waiting for is here. So let's welcome our speaker, a real life science sleuth and tech storyteller. Say hello to Rohini Krishnamurthy, all of you. She is a senior reporter at Down to Earth, one of India's top science and environment magazines. I hope you have gone through it or are aware of it. And Rohini writes about everything from climate change and oceans to energy and yes, technology. She's an engineer by training with a BTech in bioengineering. And in 2023, she won the prestigious Ramnath Goenka Award for Excellence in Journalism for her powerful report on gas leak incident in Punjab. And outside her newsroom, Rohini enjoys dancing and reading and even painting, and she's a science wizard and creative star too. So, we are thrilled to have her guide us through the incredible world of AI today. And I welcome Rohini with a big round of applause. So, Rohini, please unmute yourself and
Yes.
share your screen and zoom through the session.
Yeah. You will be sharing the screen, right?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Friends, are you able to see the screen and hear the audio? Yeah. You can give me a thumbs up.
The
And in case,
presenter view is on. Anubhuti, the presenter view is on. Could you
mm,
go to the full screen view?
so yeah, is
Yes,
it better
perfect.
now?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Great. All right, Rohini.
Thank you so much, Anubhuti, for organizing this. And uh, good evening, everybody. I hope you're excited for this. So, I will be talking about AI, what it can do, what are the risks, and what we should be thinking about going forward. So quickly on the chat box, if you could type, what are your first thoughts or what comes to your mind when you think about artificial intelligence?
Okay. So the chat strip is where you have to start acting. What do you think? What comes
Right?
to your mind first when you think of AI? The responses that we are getting are chat GPT, chatbots,
ChatGPT.
Meta AI.
Yeah, it's quite a lot of examples here. Games, humanoid care service, interesting. AI acting as humans, yes, that is one risk. Gemini, Alexa, Siri, it doesn't require much human effort, you're right. Black box AI, oh, it's interesting. Robots, Gemini, all right. Um, all right. So I asked the same question. Could you move to the next slide, please? Yeah. So I asked Gemini the same question and asked to describe AI in an image. So here's what it did. Next slide, please. Okay. So when you look at this image, what comes to your mind? You could put your answers in the chat GPT. Sorry, sorry, on the chat screen. Just look at this image and what do you make of it? Right? A helping friend. Okay. AI is connected to a phone, transportation technology, smart machines, right? So, so basically, what you're looking at is this is what AI came up with when I asked it to describe it. So basically, the bulb that you see there is its ideas. It's generating ideas, or it's basic not more than generating ideas, it's doing all the thinking, and that is used to power the robot, the self-driving cars, if you've heard of that. And then you have the smartphone, so it's sort of like you can hold conversations with it, you could give it a command, it could do things for you. So all the thinking happens in the AI, and then it is used to power different things. Now, how AI works is, first it is actually trained. So you're feeding it information. It is, so that's called the training phase. So it basically from the trained data, and you give it the output. So it tries to make connections, try to identify patterns, and then once the training phase is done, it's in the operating phase. So that's the Gemini for you. You type in a request or a command, and then it generates something like this from what it has previously learned. So that's the result of training. Next slide, please. Right. So AI is something, AI is artificial intelligence, is basically sort of products or services that are adaptable and autonomous. Now, what is adaptable? So you can just, like you see in the image, just imagine a robot dog with you, and you're training it to learn. You're teaching it to play catch, and so you're throwing a ball at it, and based on how you throw, and based on it tries to like see patterns and how it can catch the ball better. So it will see how it bounces and at different angles, and basically it learns. So that's the training, and it adapts to situations accordingly, and then it maybe it gets better with time, and it's able to catch the ball. So that's an example of it being adaptable. So it adapts through training, tries to find new patterns and connections, and it gets better with time. So that's adaptable. Next slide, please. So next is it is autonomous. So some AI systems can actually make their own decisions. So for example, if you consider the ball falling into your neighbor's place, so and there are two different routes, so it could choose the best route depending on the distance, depending on any sort of obstructions. So where the distance is smaller and if there are fewer obstructions, it will choose that route to save time. So that's an example of autonomous. Next slide, please. So now AI has become so ingrained, it's everywhere. So even if you have, how many of you have used Google search, and you've seen AI overview coming up? When you just do a Google search, you find some summary right in the beginning. How many of you have seen that? Right. That's good. So that's AI overview. So what it does is it summarizes all the information present on the internet and tries to give you a overview of any topic. So if you want to know how AI works, then it will give you a summary of it from all the information that's available on the internet. So that's an example of how AI is sort of uh, become a part of Google search. And then you have, sorry, the previous, yeah. And then you have emails. So, how many of you use emails? Right. So, I'm guessing a lot of you use emails. So, how many of you have seen, that in the Google, when you compose an email, just at the bottom, you have the, refine. What it's basically, it's help me write sort of an option. So if you click onto that, it could sort of refine your writing, or it could polish it. It could make it a little more compact, concise. It could make it a little more formal. So these are the options that AI does. So it's there on your email as well. So have you guys seen that? And have you used it? Okay. All right, so that's email for you. Then it's also used in clinical decision support system. So it could help doctors, uh, you know, uh, diagnose, make proper diagnosis, or it could help them, diagnose a particular medical condition, or maybe give recommendations on what treatment strategies might work best for somebody. So all it can do is it can go through your family history, go through all the tests that you have done. So it's very fast at like analyzing data and coming up with suggestions. And it's also used in law. So it could help lawyers basically read lots of documents, review documents. So that's where it's helpful. And it's there, like if you even look at the different fields, it's also used in business, it's used in education, it's used in finance, manufacturing, automobile. It's also used in gaming, like one of you pointed it out, in the government, healthcare, like I'd mentioned previously. Next slide, please. Okay, so first let's get familiar with the machine language. So you have heard of AI assistants, I presume. Alexa, you must have heard it, or you must be having it at home. Do you guys have it at home? Have you used an Alexa? Yeah. Okay. All right. Alexa, Siri, right. All of that. So basically, you give it a task, you ask Alexa to play music, or this particular song, it does that. Um, then you have something called as chatbot. So you could hold conversations with chatbots. Next slide, please. And you have something called as generative AI. How many of you have heard of Gen AI? Right. And could somebody type what they understand of generative AI? Right. It can make songs and photos, generates text and images, can generate its own functioning of chat. Right. You're right. So the image that you see here that I had used previously, the bulb and the robot, that's Gen AI. So you ask it to create some text, video, audio, music, it can do that. So Gemini is one example of generative AI. Next slide, please. So what can you do with AI? So you could, how many of you are interested in coding? Has anyone learned anything? Uh, right. So, with the help of AI, you could code. You could ask it to code for you. You could ask AI to build a software for you. So you can imagine this now. If there's a software company where people used to sit together and where people used to build apps, do the coding. Now you might not need that many people to do coding. So you could just use AI, and you could have people to work along with AI, and you can build software with smaller teams. So that's an example of what it can do. It can design a poster. So I've spoken to graphic designers, and what they've told me is AI can help create a first draft of an idea. You type in an idea that this is what you want, it could generate that for you, and what they do is they could just improvise it, make it better, fine tune it, and all of that. you could make a film. So this film, that The Frost, they claim to be the first Gen AI film, and I think it came out in 2024. It's a 12-minute long film, and it's entirely created through generative AI. You have basically all the characters generated by AI, and so basically these films can be made at a very shorter time interval. It's basically reducing the time needed to make a film, and then it can be used in data analysis. So you'll also see a lot of scientists, researchers. It could also help in sort of going through lots of research papers and trying to give you a summary of it. So, next slide, please. Okay, so this is basically us tracing the path of uh, how AI was born and how it led us to where we are. So if you see in that image, AI as such was born in 1950s at some workshop, and it was a scientist who coined the term AI. It was called, I think he called it the science and engineering of developing machines, intelligent machines. And sometime in the 1960s, we saw generative AI, but they weren't good. There were some robots and all of that. But then later, there were a lot of false starts and dead ends. And that particular term from late 1960s till 1990s, we just had all dead ends, false starts and dead ends. And people call that AI winter. And then came the sorry, I can't see that. All right. So then came the deep learning era. So deep learning is basically AI sort of trying to simulate how the human brain works, basically the human complex decision making. So we had Watson at the time, and we had Siri. Then we also had Eugene. So Eugene is considered the first chatbot, and that came around in 2012. But again, not so good. We also had Alexa and the years that followed. And in 2020, we had, like, among scientists, this was considered a very big advancement, because one of the things that scientists struggle with, or that they find challenging, is predicting protein structure. And once, why this is important: if you predict the structure of proteins, you can sort of understand what its functions are, and if you know what its functions are, you could design, drugs, and all of that. So it's very important in the medical field. And in 2020, AlphaFold is Google's, so it was able to basically predict all proteins in nature, and actually in minutes. So there's that. And then we had chat gpt in 2022. So that's when we saw the generative AI boom. And what made chat gpt so different from the other gen AI models or systems that we've seen before is chat gpt had reduced its biases, and it was more human like, so which sort of made AI a very household name. And then after that, we had several generative AI tools that came out. You had Gemini, you had Copilot, you have Grok. Then you have Apple Intelligence, Sora is, it makes videos for you. And then we in 2025 we entered the agentic era. So agents are basically so AI that can actually perform with minimal human intervention. So actually, before we go into that, I also forgot, I wanted to mention this another point. So just in 2018, 2019, you should also remember that the Gen AI couldn't write a coherent paragraph on its own. So in just a span of 5 years, we saw ChatGPT doing really well on that front. Okay, so right, so now we are into the agentic era, and what it does is it could carry out like multiple tasks, okay, with very minimal human interventions. And if I remember that right, in 2024, Sam Altman, who's the CEO of OpenAI is a company that created ChatGPT. So he sort of predicted that 2025 is when you will have agentic AI entering the workforce. So what it can, you could think of it as an example where it could, reduce the it could increase productivity. It could act as a virtual coworker. So, for example, a human engineer could ask it to develop a new software feature. Then for the agent AI would then code, test it, and then deploy the tool. So it could do all of it by itself. These multiple steps, it would carry it out. Um, After agent AI, so we had two examples of it, operator and Manus AI, though they are not fully there yet. They have already started to make headlines. And the next big thing is the artificial general intelligence. How many of you have heard of artificial general intelligence, or AGI? Have you heard of artificial general intelligence? Okay. So, for those of you who've heard it, what do you think AGI is?
Well, a lot of them have heard of AGI, I believe, because they
Yeah,
are replying in affirmative. Now you need to tell us what do you understand by it? Can anyone tell us what is AGI?
artificial general intelligence. Okay. I'll say it. So, it's a hypothetical form of AI that would process the ability to understand and learn that a human being can. You're right. You're right, Anya. So, basically, it's a very conceptual. It's at a very conceptual stage. Till now, nobody has a proper definition of what AGI is. There's no consensus on the definition, but there's a lot of race. There's a big race between the United States, China, EU. All of them want to be the first to achieve AGI. So AGI is something that can match human intelligence or even surpass human intelligence. Um, all right, so that's AGI, and you can think of it as an example. Say you have an AGI, you have a self-driving car powered by an artificial general intelligence by AGI. So what it can do is, if there's a congestion somewhere, without having been trained, it can adapt to situations. For example, it can talk to other vehicles and find out the best route it could take, keeping distance and travel time in mind. So that's AGI. So far, we are not there, but there have been a lot of predictions, with some saying it's here just around the corner. We'll have AGI in a year or two, and the others saying that the rate, the approach that we're taking right now is not going to take us anywhere close to AGI. So it's a very divided thing. So that's AGI. Let's just next slide, please. Right. So, one of the big concerns that have emerged with the rapid pace at which AI is developing is what happens to our jobs, what happens to the workforce. Because if they can perform tasks faster than humans, where does that leave us? What will we do? So, will it replace us, or will it work with us in collaboration? So, there have been like estimates of what could happen to the workforce, and according to one, 40% of the workers' existing skills will be transformed or become outdated between 2025 and 2030. In fact, this is already happening. Like I said, like I spoke to a graphic designer. She told me that some of the jobs that they used to do has become redundant. She doesn't see those job postings anymore, and because AI can do that. So that's already happening. So, but then you have new types of jobs being created. For example, somebody who can train AI, somebody who could monitor and help refine it, somebody with chat GPT skills. There are other automation prone jobs, like I said, have already become redundant. uh, AI could also work with humans. For example, it could proofread documents, it could write emails for you. So that way, there's this argument that it could free you up so you could do other jobs that require more human attention and leave out these jobs for AI. But then those who do get displaced, those who lose their jobs, those automation prone jobs like graphic designing and all of that, uh, they will lose jobs, and where will they go? So they might have to take up jobs that don't pay them as much. So it does create an unequal world, and there is a risk of a widening income inequality. So that is a concern. Next slide, please. Okay, so AI may be faster, but is it perfect? The answer is a big no. All right. Uh, let's move on to the next slide. Right. So, one of the big concerns with AI is the biases, or it could also exclude people. Uh, so, consider this case: you are a doctor, and two people from very different socioeconomic backgrounds come to you with chest pain. What would you do? You could type in your answers in the chat. What would you do if two people with the same complaint come to you, but they come from different socioeconomic backgrounds? Um,
We don't have too many
okay.
responses, but
Yeah, so we'll do surgery, check both of them, treat them same, cure them both. Right. Does AI think the same? Not really. There was, according to one study that came out this year, according to a few scientists in the US, AI does not do that. Next slide, please. So, what it did was it recommended different treatments for the same medical condition. So, based on a patient's socioeconomic background. So, if a patient comes from a lower income group, he or she was just given some medication and sent home. But those from a higher income group were asked to go for follow up, were asked to go for diagnostic tests to see what is wrong with that person. So, this is what AI did. Next slide, please. So, how many of you have heard of hallucination? AI hallucinates, right? Um, why does AI hallucinate? So, before moving into that, I'll give you two examples of it. This is again AI overview, and somebody had Googled asking how many rocks can I eat, and it basically summarized something saying that you should eat at least one small rock per day, and it contains vitamins and so on and so forth. But AI had actually taken this information from a website which was from an article which was satirical, which was a satire. So AI could not recognize that the post was satire. So that's an example of some of the issues. I mean, how it could hallucinate. This is a miss. You're right, Ruhi. We cannot eat rocks. AI does not get satires. So there's also another example. Satire is something sarcastic. You being sarcastic. So the other thing is cheese not sticking to pizza, and then it recommended some sort of glue. So this is an example of hallucination. Though AI has gotten better with time, it is reducing some of the issues, but this issue still exists. AI does hallucinate. Sometimes, if you ask them how many female presidents we've seen in the US, it might tell you three, but we've not had a single US president. I'm just giving you an example of what it could do, and it could also make a false. Citation that I took this information from somewhere, but that site does not exist. So it's always very important that yes, you could use AI to find answers to your questions, but please go and check things yourself. Do your own fact checking. All right. And wait, and it does that. Why it hallucinates is because it's been trained to come up with a plausible sounding language. It's not been trained to give you right information. So they don't have to figure out something is true. Whatever is online, it'll just give you something without really recognizing, or it could just misrepresent stuff. It has led to issues also, like, for example, news media organizations have also raised concerns. They filed cases that their information is being used and it's hallucinating and basically misrepresenting stuff. So that's a concern. Next slide, please. AI may cheat and manipulate humans. This is okay. So, how many of you have heard about Cicero or have played the game Diplomacy? Okay, you have you heard of Diplomacy? Because I don't know me as to which. Have you heard of Diplomacy? It's a game. Okay, I haven't played that either, but all I understand is that it's a strategic game. You have to be very strategic. It's about something about World War and trying to conquer some piece of land. And Cicero is basically an AI system developed by Meta AI. So basically, it was designed to play diplomacy. And what scientists saw that AI, despite so the AI, the Cicero was trained not to lie and cheat, but what it did was, despite being trained not to lie, it could strategically withhold information or even lie to trick humans into certain actions so that AI wins or somebody loses. So this is a concern. So this is something that's been highlighted. Diplomacy is a game. It's a sort of a board game. Next slide, please. Okay, AI in warfare. So AI could be used for surveillance, it could be used to strategize, it could be used as a weapon system. So, if even in the wars like Israel and Gaza, and also Ukraine and Russia. So AI has been used. So, for example, uh, there is a system called as Lavender, which apparently Israel uses. So it basically assigns a certain score to a person on how likely they are to be associated with some sort of, I mean, how likely they are to be like part of some sort of a military group or some sort of enemy or whatever. So they assign a score based on who you are, what kind of friends you have, who you chat with, how many times you change your phone. So it assigns the AI assigns a score, and you could be targeted if you rank high on that score. So that's an example of how it could be used. Um, it could be used in facial recognition to sort of decide where the enemy camp is, all of that. It could also be used in warfare. So there's something called as automated weapon system. How many of you have used or have heard of automated weapon system?
Wow, they've not just heard of it, they can also quote examples like S400.
Right. So what it can do is it could basically sort of attack or mark something or attack something based without any sort of human intervention. So it's pretty scary because when it you activate it, it can select and it can engage targets, and you don't need any human operator there. So there is a concern about what these AI based weapons can do, what happens if they go rogue, and humans could deflect responsibility for their actions, children could be hurt. So there are lots of issues. So and also, if the AI is actually built from, or if it's been trained using very bad data, that is also a problem, because what if they assign human rights group as a terrorist organization? So there are lots of issues. Um, Moving on to the next slide. Yeah. How many of you have heard of deepfakes? I'm sure most of you must have heard of it.
Deep fakes?
Yeah.
What are deep fakes?
Right. So a lot of you have heard of it. Now, look at this particular image. Could you identify which one? There are lots of images here. Could you identify which one is a deep fake here?
That's an interesting question.
I know I've said which photo is real here, but identify which one is a deep fake here. There's
Shivansh
just one.
says all are fake.
Okay. Uh, row four. Okay. Who are these people? They're
Most
just
10
normal
votes.
people. They're all fake, I think. Okay. We'll see who the next slide, please.
Hmm.
If you guessed him, you're right. So we'll just go back to the previous slide and I'll show you where he is. So he's on your second column, fourth row. Can you tell them apart? Can you tell a human and a deep fake apart? Yeah, you're right. AI has gotten so good that it's very difficult to sort of differentiate between a real person and an AI generated person. So that is an issue, and that's where we are. This the age of deepfakes, and has it has led to a lot of scams. People have been like somebody could create an AI generated person like some favorite celebrity of yours and they could be chatting with you and one day they might say that I'm giving you a job and in exchange for so much money you might give money, you might transfer money and that person or the AI might just disappear. That's one issue. Or someone could create a celebrity you trust and make you invest in some particular website. So these are some of the concerns that have emerged in recent years. Next slide, please. Okay. This is a question that is widely debated. Does AI violate copyright? Uh, so, how many of you remember Studio Ghibli have, or how many of you have used this? Right. It's cool, right? If you watched movies by Studio Ghibli and you could see a photo of yours in the Ghibli style. But now this has raised a question. Was this a tribute to Studio Ghibli or was it a copyright violation? Because what AI has done is it has copied the style of the artist. Now, is this protected by law? Is the style protected by law? Should companies get licenses and compensate the artist for copying their style? So these are some of the questions that have emerged, and it has led to a lot of debates in recent past between AI companies and creative artists, people who paint, people who draw, people who create music. So even news organizations, for that matter, can news that you see is also been used to train AI. So should news media be uh, compensated for it? So, because AI makes a lot of money at the end of the day, what do people get? So that's the question because it's livelihoods at the end of the day. Next question. Sorry, next slide. Okay, so AI has sort of created a very new ecosystem. We are in a very different world right now. So we are seeing very different kinds of cases that have, and most of them have been in the US. So of the 213 cases that we saw, some 199 are in the United States. So these are some of the examples where you had consumers suing a particular hotel operations for using algorithms to inflate room rates, or somebody alleging that Google, Twitter, and Meta, they're all providing a platform for ISIS content. And there were certain music publishers who've sued AI company for copyright using their lyrics for training the AI system, because AI system is as good as how well it's trained. So basically AI companies use any sort of data that's available on the internet. They scrap data, they also use artist data and train their systems. So all of that is there. Then in 2019, we saw a case where self-driving car Tesla. Basically, she sued Elon Musk and Tesla for overselling the car, and that led to the death of her husband. Then there's a class action where somebody was they used an automated system and accusing 40,000 residents for fraud, which was wrongfully accused. So these are some examples of AI in court. So, this brings us to the question of why do we need governance? Do we need to govern AI, and how do we do it? Because it's posed very complicated risks. We are in a very different kind of world. Do we need rules and regulations that can help address these new risks that have come? And mostly countries are sort of, they're sort of walking a this sort of divide between what happens if we overregulate. So if we are overregulating, we could be stifling innovation. Or how do we achieve this balance between innovation, where AI companies are, they can innovate and come up with really good products that take them forward, or and at the same time we regulate it to ensure that nobody gets hurt. So you have EU and China having very tight legislative measures. US does not have any legal framework. Next slide, please. So India is yet to have any such a particular rule for it. What they're trying to do is using the existing laws, but still India needs to upgrade it. And now in the Delhi High Court, there's been a case going on where a journalist filed a petition asking the union government to introduce stricter rules against deepfakes. So we should see how this goes forward. Um, next slide, please. Okay, this brings us to a very important topic on the environmental impacts of AI. So because AI is fast, it needs a lot of energy because it processes data not just during the training phase, also during the operating phase. Both the phases, it requires a lot of energy, and it's just imagine the human brain. Like if you want the human brain needs a lot of energy to work, and that's the same with AI. And AI requires a lot of energy. So if you look at this particular example, if you sorry. So, a chat GPT request, you type a chat GPT request, it consumes about 2.9 watt hours of energy. And just a Google search, in contrast, consumes about zero point 0.3 watt hours. So this is almost like 10 times more that chat GPT consumes. Next slide, please. So where is this demand coming from? That comes from data centers, because data centers is what powers your AI models. So it basically has servers and all of the infrastructure that is needed for your models to be trained and operated. So all of that, the power, the brain of it, or the servers, that comes from data centers, and they consume a lot of electricity. And next slide, please. Okay. So next is the water guzzler. So because AI is fast, it requires a lot of energy. It gets heated up, so it needs to cool. And for that, it requires water. And it requires a lot of water. Now, for 1 kilowatt of energy, it consumes 1.8 to 12 liters. And this is from data from the Microsoft data center. So there are estimates for 2027. So I mean, it could be consuming, it could be withdrawing water, which is 4 to 6 times of what Denmark withdraws. So that's a lot of water. So this is estimates for water, and as AI becomes more complex, as it becomes bigger, as it executes more complex tasks, its energy and water needs will also increase. Next slide, please. And what we also see is most of these data centers, they tend to be located in regions that already face water scarcity. So if you look at this map, you will see that 41% of them are in areas with extreme water stress. And if you look at in Asia, Indonesia has the most data centers, and after that is India and Russia. So India stands second in the number of data centers that are located in water stress regions. Next slide, please. So is there a solution? So there is renewables. They're looking at solar, wind energy, but they are intermittent. They don't. You don't always have wind blowing, and you don't always have the sun. So that's, but still, that's one of the solutions. People are looking at nuclear. So it we cannot deny that AI is a very powerful tool. It could help us, but it all depends on how we use it. And from the start, that is when AI is being planned, when it's being trained, from then could we think about it sustainably? Could we think about developing it, ensuring that it's more sustainable, it does not cause more harm to the environment? This is something we should be thinking about as we go forward. With that, I'm come to the end of the presentation, and I hope uh, you guys liked it.
That's great. Thank you so much, Rohini. It was a very insightful session, and we got a lot of interesting details about AI and how it is impacting us, our world, and the environment at large. And I do have questions coming up from our audience. Um, Let us take them one by one.
So,
Uh, First person is Swapnika Ghosh. Swapnika, thanks for joining us very timely from the start. Please introduce yourself. Tell us where you're from, which class, which school, and then you ask your question.
So actually, my name is Swapnika Ghosh. I'm from Cambridge School in Rapuram, and my generally I had many doubts. The session was amazing for me. So my doubt is that should we limit AI for the safety of humanity? And that is my doubt. There are many more doubts, but this is the one that I wanted to ask you especially. So can you tell me?
okay. All right. Thank you, Swapnika. Um, should we limit AI? Well, it depends actually. I don't think we should limit AI. AI does have applications. It could help us. Nobody is against AI, but it should just be done sustainably. It should be done keeping the environment in mind. It should be done ensuring that nobody is left behind. There's no inequality. You have to sort of fix your rules and guardrails, strengthen your guardrails so that nobody is hurt. So if you address the limitations also while you are developing, so it should not be like innovation and you leave the guardrails behind. You should achieve a balance between the two. And I guess that if you achieve that, it will be a, a good package. Else we could be, creating a more unequal world and our climate goals could go far behind. So this is something that we need to be looking at.
Thank you, Swapnika. The next question is by uh, uh, Arundha Gayan. Um, Arundha, can you please unmute yourself, introduce yourself, tell us where you're from, class, school, and ask your question?
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I am VP Arund again. I am from Cambridge School in the Indrapuram, studying class 8th. So, ma'am, my question is that why doesn't the government limit the capability of the of AI so that it does not harm the human or the life forms on Earth?
Yeah, that's a very important question. This is something we should, as you grow up, you should ask your leaders. But government ideally should, like I said, they should maintain a balance between innovation and regulation, like ensuring that there are proper guardrails. Uh, Ideally, they should, but are they doing it? No, not really, because everybody is in a race. People want to race ahead with AI, get all be powerful enough, and probably they're thinking of like once you're powerful enough, the geopolitics become different. So there are larger interests at play. So ideally government should be doing that, but that's not happening right now.
Thank you, ma'am.
Uh, okay, the next in line is Aditya Narayan. Aditya, please unmute yourself and ask your question. Are you there?
Sure.
Hi, Aditya. Which class are you in? Where are you from?
Yes, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am. I'm Aditya
Hi.
Narayan from class 6A from Cambridge School in Rapuram.
Oh,
Uh,
lovely.
Ma'am, I wanted to ask that, ma'am, why do AI centers, like data centers, need AI? Like, why do they use water energy for that AI, the data
Yeah.
centers?
So the
This is
data centers require why do they require energy and water, if I've understood your right question right?
right.
Yes, ma'am, water energy.
Right.
I don't.
Okay, so it requires energy because it has to process data. It has to give you, you type a question, it has to respond to it. Any machine requires energy to work, right? So the same with AI. So because it has to do it quickly, it has to process a lot of data and give you the information. So that requires a lot of energy. And imagine like lots of people posing questions, lots of people using AI, and as it gets more, it becomes more powerful, it'll require more energy, like it can, if it reaches human intelligence or whatever. Water, because the systems, the servers and all of that, they get heated up, so it needs to be cooled down. So what they do is they use, there's something called as a water exchanger, so the water is evaporated and cool water is made to pass through. So basically that helps to cool down the system. So that's why AI is used. So they withdraw water, and most of it actually is potable water, that is drinking water that's used. So that is concerning, but they have to come up with technologies, different ways of sort of reducing water consumption. So that's what it is.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Rohini. That was very simply answered for students. We do have a couple of more questions, so let's take them. The next is Priyanshu Mitra. Priyanshu wants to ask a question on uh, human emotions and AI.
Yes, ma'am.
Priyanshu?
Good evening. I am Priyanshu Mitra from class 9, BD Memorial. My question is that is it correct to use AI where human emotions are needed, like in fields of psychology, where doctors try to understand the emotions of a person? Is it correct to use AI there?
Well, right. So far, AI hasn't reached a level where it. See, it's a very sensitive field. So ideally, AI shouldn't be offering counseling services unless it is a lot more sensitive. So I mean, there. See, the other side of looking at it is what happens if something goes wrong. Like, for instance, in the United States, there was a case where a child, a teenager, was talking to an AI, and he died. He died of suicide. So, again, the question is who is liable? Who is responsible for this? Because there's a case going on that. So, ideally, it's I don't know. I mean, there are lots of issues. AI has not reached a level where it could be guiding people, especially on a very sensitive issues. So I would advise humans. You still need humans there. AI has not reached that level where it could be, be sensitive enough, or it could really be helping people. So it's too early in its development.
Thank you.
Rohini, we have a very interesting comment by Anya Gupta. She says, "Can't we just make servers somewhere really cold, in a very cold place like Ladakh or Alaska or something like that, just to reduce the water requirement?"
Yeah, it could be done, but then if you look at places like Ladakh, they already have, it's a cold desert, right? It already has water scarcity. So you could be using, I mean, if instead of water, if you could use cool air, I don't know. So there are things that people are looking at, people are trying to come up with. But we have to also look at, even before setting up a data center, you have to look at the place. What is the water availability? How is it going to affect people? Another thing I did not mention is AI. For AI to run, a lot of energy comes from coal so far. And if there are so wherever the thermal power plants, this is I'm talking about globally. So if you have thermal power plants, they release a lot of air pollution, and that could be affecting people in living in that area, in the vicinity of a power plant. So it comes with public health issues also. There's that cost benefit. Who is getting affected by AI? That's something you should think about when you're if you're getting into AI and if you're developing AI. So this is something you need to think about.
Right. So we have Samriddha Biswas next. We have Shakti Yadav and Purnatva already raising their hands. So first we'll go to Samriddha Biswas. Samriddha, hi, great to see you. Where are you from, Samriddha? Which city?
Good evening, ma'am. I'm Samridha Biswas from Kolkata. I
Okay.
read in class 8 of Techno Indian Public School, Garia. So, ma'am, I had a question that why are all the countries, like you said, China, US, and Europe, all in a rush to develop more advanced AI when we know that the future of the human lives are threatening this?
Um, I mean, that's the geopolitics, right? Everybody wants to be the first to get something, to achieve something. And if you achieve, so that was like the space race that we've seen. This is also one thing that if you achieve, you're powerful. You could call the shots. So there's that. But I don't think there are some countries do think about like Europe and I mean especially Europe. They have some ambitious um, policies there, but there are a lot of these private interests at play. So it's if you don't have proper regulations, people will get affected. So the thing is, do your politicians have um, the will to ensure that it's developed safely? uh, that we are yet to see. Because it's all we have yet to reach AGI, or agentic AI also has not reached that level. So we'll have to see what they do. But as citizens, we could always hold part to account.
All right, last
Okay,
two
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
questions. Last two questions for the session today, as we would have to free Rohini for her next assignment. So, Shakti, you have raised her hand for very long. Please ask your question, and Purnatva, you'll be the last.
Thank you, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am. I am
Good
Shakti
evening.
Yadav from Cambridge School, Indrapuram, 60. I had a question. Why does AI turn hot after we use it for very long?
You see, any sort of electronic system, right? If you're using it, you're charging your phone for a long time, or if you're using your phone for a long time, it gets heated up. So that's the same with AI. So it's built that way that if it is continuously working, it gets hot. So that's why it needs to be cooled down.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, Shakti. And the last question of the day is by Purnatva. Purnatva, thank you for applauding our session a lot. And now, please ask your question quickly.
Ma'am, my question was if AI can do anything by will. Example, even after telling and explaining AI to not cheat, they still cheated in the diplomacy game. So,
Right.
what can we do if AI stops listening to humans?
Okay.
Yeah, that's a very important question. So usually what happens is when AI companies develop, you know, the software, or sorry, the algorithms or their models, they have to run something called as a safety test. So basically to test what happens, or its likelihood of going rogue, and all of that. So that safety test they have to have, and they also need to know how to um what to do if it goes rogue. So that's what can we do. It's again, that again comes to regulations. The countries should have access to these safety tests that companies do, and also ensure that there are certain checks and balances. So if it goes rogue, what you need to do. So that's not very transparent. Companies are not very transparent. We don't really know what's happening. So that's why you need regulations. You need proper governance.
All right, guys. So thank you so much for being a part of today's masterclass, and we hope you are walking away with new ideas, big questions, and a spark to explore AI even more. And before you go, don't forget to check out our Goba Times magazine. I'll request my friend to turn on to the last slide of the day, which shows Goba Times magazine, a super fun monthly online magazine just for you all, packed with stories and write-ups by young kids about the environment. I'll request my friend Yashita to also post the web link for Gobo Times right away so that you can click and check out the several editions of the magazine that we have. You can read it, download it, subscribe it. It's all for free on the Young Environmentalist website exclusively. And of course, if you loved our today's session and you want to join more events like this, please subscribe to the Young Environmentalist website for updates on future master classes. Every month we come up with a fresh event and you'll be very excited to participate in them. Until then, stay curious, stay kind, and keep exploring. Bye bye, everyone. I'll unmute all of you and you can say your bye byes and thank yous.
Bye, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Have a
Thank
good
you,
day.
ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Make a great day.
Thank you, ma'am. Have a great time, ma'am.
Thank you, Rohini.
For a wonderful
Great day.
Thank you once again.
class.
Thank you once again, everybody.